By Bianco Building Supplies, helping to build South Australian football.
Here we go. All right.
Good evening everyone, I'm Nat Adamopoulos and this is Full On Football, the only TV show that promotes local South Australian football. Well, it's been another big week in football. Of course, all the mums had a happy Mother's Day. I think they all did, myself included. We saw an end of an era at Highmarsh Stadium with where we farewelled Richie Allegich, his last home game with Adelaide United. Still, he's got the one left to go next week. So. An absolute, stands tall as one of the South Australians' legends and a champion of football. We now look forward to seeing him play in the local competition, so I can't wait for that. That'll be fantastic. Of course, we had the round 3 of the FFSA Cup. 8 games being played, some great results coming out of those games, and full-on football cameras were down at the Newton Village Sports Centre, so we're going to have a look at a bit of footage and some interviews as well. A very strong 4-0 win there by Campbelltown against Adelaide Galaxy. And as I said, we're going to look at that and more later on in the show. But let's meet our first guest for tonight. Last time he was here, he was in the hot seat, but basically any seat he sits in is the hot seat with this guy because he actually makes things happen. He's a man that works very, very hard for his club, puts in 110% with anything that he does, and also a man who instigates changes and does initiatives for the club. So we look forward to meeting this man. He's a strong supporter of full-on football and a very good friend, senior coach of Seaford Rangers, should I say, Ben Dale. You got me all tongue-tied, Ben. Welcome to full-on football.
Thanks for having me again.
Oh, look, report on Seaford so far in the season. How are we going? Not too bad?
No, well, it could be better, but, at the end of the day, consistency's really been the problem. I think I was saying to the lads the other week is a lot of our strengths at times are also our weaknesses. So it's just a matter of getting some consistency and, as soon as we can get that happening, I think we'll be okay.
Well, we'll talk to you more about Seaford later on in the show. And speaking of reports, well, our second guest is going to give us a report on what he's been up to over the last 8 months. It's someone who's I've been trying to get on the show for quite some time, managed to get him on now. And if you want answers, you go straight to the top. That's what we've got. We've put him in the hot seat because basically that's where he's been sitting for the last 8 months. So we wanted to make him feel at home. Chief Executive Officer of the FFSA, Michael Carter, welcome to Full On Football.
Thank you, Nat. It's good to be here.
Oh, lovely. Honestly, lovely to have you. And I do thank you for accepting our invitation because I know you're a very, very busy man. I wanted to ask you off the top, since taking up your position as CEO, you're actually not a newcomer to sport because you were involved with SA Baseball, Glenelg Footy Club and the Greyhounds, so you're well and truly entrenched in sport. You must be settling in now after sitting at the position of CEO. I'd like to ask you, what was something that you were really looking forward to when you took on the position and what were you apprehensive about?
First of all, I'm really enjoying the position at the moment. I certainly looked at the position as a real challenge, and it was an opportunity for me to further myself, an opportunity for me to make a difference in the sport, and hopefully I can do that. We're having a few wins at the moment, which is good, and we'll continue to focus on the competition and make sure that this season goes very well. I wasn't apprehensive about anything, to be honest. It was an opportunity, and I like a challenge, and I've got a challenge, and I'm going to do my very best to make sure we do a good job.
Certainly is a challenging position. Now, FFSA has been in operation now. This is its 3rd year. Of course, the first couple of years, you're looking at a transition phase, the end of the old, in with the new. So, you're given a bit of grace. But now that you've been here for a while, what would you list as the organisation's achievements?
To date, since I've started?
To date, yes.
I think that obviously the first couple of months were getting a handle on the organisation and where we're going. One of the first things that I thought was trying to provide additional value to the clubs. We are attempting to set up a state insurance policy which will provide everybody with a level of cover. I saw this as a particular opportunity or avenue to provide for unification, which is obviously one of our major targets, to provide for a unification. The sport obviously has huge potential, has huge buying power with the numbers of players that are playing the sport, and really has an opportunity to go forward. I think it was a little bit worrying at the beginning of the year without a major sponsor. That was a concern, but we didn't let that worry us. We continued down the path, stayed consistent with our messages, and lucky enough to secure a major sponsor for the next 3 years, which is fantastic. And obviously another huge achievement I think for the sport is the signing of the South Australian Juniors, which means that we are closer to unification, and probably closer to unification than the sport's been for a long time.
Well, you have got one group or branch of football there, the Amateur League, which is a entity in its own right, is a very strong competition. So if you're able to sway them to join, that's going to be a huge coup, and I don't know how far down the track that is, if that will happen, but that is a huge job to be able to get them on board with you as part of under the one umbrella.
Look, it certainly is, and I think that my main focus now is to provide great value to the juniors and to our members, which are obviously our senior clubs and Junior Premier League. Through the signing, we will expand our development team. We will go regional. We'll also focus metropolitan. Our targets this year are to see in excess of 40,000 kids through school clinics. We're setting up regional centres of excellence with Westpac as name and right sponsor. Okay. That's being done in Port Augusta, Mount Gambier, and also in the Riverland. We need to focus on providing that value. Once our constituents see that value, and the fact that we certainly have a great deal of respect amongst the football community, I think hopefully that will build our case to go to the amateurs to try and provide for that unification.
It is a big ask that you're doing. I mean, mainly you're saying to get the respect of the football community. It is a huge job, because there's been a lot of baggage that's come before you and before the FFSA, and people are apprehensive about what happens. So that in itself is something that if you're able to gain that respect over the years is fantastic for the organisation. I wanted to ask, I mean, of course, with the juniors, these are our football players of the future, so we must cater for them. Fantastic that you're able to have done that and get them on board.
Yeah, it is, and it's a particularly good thing for the organisation. We will move forward. We'll build a very strong team around us, development team, competitions team, finance team. We're going through a strategic planning process at the moment where we will be focusing on particular areas, unification still being one of those. I'm confident that we'll achieve what we've set out to do. I have no baggage within the sport. I will say it as I see it, and we will focus on areas that I believe we need to focus on.
Okay, looking at the competition this year, you brought back the top 5. Why was this decision made, and who made this decision?
Well, we had a club meeting not long after I started, and it was what we did is we split the groups up from Super League to Premier League to State League to try and get an idea of what the varying needs were between the competitions. They're a competition within themselves, realistically, and they have different needs. It was very obvious that the clubs wanted to see the return of the top 5, in particular the Super League. The other teams were a little bit divided in terms of how we were going to structure the competition. We put a paper together, and the board approved it. For the top 5 final series for the Super League and the top 5 challenge for the Premier League and State League. And Look, I'm really looking forward to the end of the year. We have a really full calendar, which will be released shortly. Obviously, we have the Cup, we have the Junior and the Senior Cup, we have the Final Five Series, which is a 4-week campaign. We'll also have the Player of the Year night, and then obviously cap it off with Highmarsh Stadium with the final. I would like to hope that we will see a crowd. Our aim is 6,000 to 8,000 people at Highmarsh Stadium.
Well, we will